for today? Yeah. Oh, right, okay. I couldn't. Didn't happen with me or with everyone.
Well,
anyway. Thank you. Thank you, Rob.
Streaming now, Chairman.
John. Good evening all, good members, and
Thank you.
Sergeant Tom Nielsen. Welcome to the Finance and Governance Committee at Newton, Longville, Newton Leeds as well. Pavilion on the 16th, 15th of April. And just to note, everyone knows the two exit points, emergency exits are at the end of the building and at the front, double doors there. The restrooms are at the front of the building, should anyone want them. And the fire meeting point is in the car park at the assembly point. Right, thank you. Item 1, to note councillor apologies for absence.
Yes, Chair, we've had one apology from Councillor Fernandez.
Right. Item 2, councillor declarations of interest. Are there any?
I've had no representative, no.
Okay, thank you. None. 3, to approve the draft minutes of the last meeting of this committee. You've all had them. I've got them to sign. Are they agreed?
Yeah.
I'll sign them at the end of the meeting. Thank you. Item 4, public speaking time. None.
No representative.
Right, thank you. Item 5, to approve location of Thames Valley Police knife amnesty bin at Sycamore Hall Stroke House. Now I'm going to hand the meeting over to Sergeant Tom Nielsen. Tom, thank you, Tom. And if you'd like to come forward with that, thank you.
Yes, so the proposal is for us, which is already paid for. We've got the knife amnesty bin paid for and maintained by Thames Valley Police. Thames Valley Police will be responsible for emptying it, recording what's in there and any substances. So there'll be no onus or any request of members of staff who work at Sycamore Hall. So there'll be no handling for them to do with any knives, weapons, etc., or put themselves in any positions with that. The positive of the knife amnesty bins, or the weapons amnesty bins, let's say, is we've now had 2 on the site of Milton Keynes put out, one being on Westcroft and the other one being on West Bletchley, and they've been in place since 2022 November with no issues. Apart from one recently, which will come on to, which is always the way, isn't it? Just before we do one, something happens. So there's one at Frank Moran Centre on West Bletchley, and the other one on Westcroft is just behind the nursery where the parish council office space is on to. I can't remember the name. It's got for Cranbourne Avenue. So over that, the onus on this Thames Valley Police, they've got to be checked at least once a month. The bombs are, in essence, we were told, bomb-proof in the sense that you can't move them. So they're bolted into the ground with 4 bolts and also bolted into the wall. So they've got to be secured by 8 bolts, which is provided with the bins. And as I say, the officers will go around at least once a month and everything. They record what's on there, and the only reason we record it is so we can then come back and quantify how many weapons have been handed in. There was initially some concern around, well, do we not give the members of the public an automatic defence by being in possession of weapons, i.e. if they're stopped, they can say, well, I was on my way to the local amnesty bin. There is the advice and guidance that's given out is that any weapons are taped up, either cardboard. They don't have to be, but this is our guidance and actually give you a nice sort of, not defence, but give you some sort of rationale as to why you're in possession of them. They're taken to the amnesty bin and then deposited. Overall, we've had, and I can't give the exact number, but I will find out for Thursday, well over 1,000 weapons handed in, which have ranged from, yes, a lot of standard kitchen knives, which a lot of people say, well, people are just getting rid of their kitchen knives for free. Well, actually, it stops them getting onto the street. We have had zombie knives, rambo knives, machetes, and on one occasion we did have a taser deposited in one of them. So it is getting rid of a lot of weapons. There was a policy also in play which they're an amnesty for a reason. So if we do come across a weapon with what could be blood on there, then we will forensicate that knife on the basis of, is there a welfare concern for the person who may have been injured with it. So the purposes would be to identify that victim. But there's a lot of forensic issues around suspects of that anyway, because it's an amnesty bin. If the weapon's put in there with lots of other knives, then there's a good argument for a defence case to say, well, that's why suspects DNA on it. So the main thing is to get rid of weapons off the street. It's working really positively. We've got one extension at the Queen's Police Station as well. Recently, as recently as 2 weeks ago, the one in Westcroft was damaged, and that's the first time that's happened. And that looked, and the hypothesis on that one is that it's probably going to be travellers who've come in, and because they've angle grinded off the lock, so it's quite a lot of effort to get into there, and to take the knives and the metal bucket that's in there, because it's a galvanised metal bucket that collects weapons. It's quite a weight of metal. And there's no report of any knives being stolen from there. That said, we can't say for certain that no weapons are taken, but that's the only incident we've had, and they have been, I can't say like how positive they've been across Milton Keynes, but across force. So it's just really to field any questions that you find people might have, but also to discuss briefly that there's a risk assessment, which I think the only way I can do it, Julia, is to send it to you to share on screen if you want to go through it, if that's possible.
You can do. Or you could just talk us through it.
Yeah, that would be, yeah, because it's just. So I thought a couple of months ago, and we've had the bin for about 6 months, so we're desperate to get it out, and I know that a lot of residents and the community are desperate to have it on Central Bletchley, because Central Bletchley's been the only one that hasn't had one. So it's really just to sort of assurance really more than reassure yourselves that they're working, they are safe, and they're well maintained by us. And if there are any problems, i.e. damage caused to it, then that will completely fall on the Thames Valley Police to rectify or replace with another one. So there's quite a lot in the risk assessment, which come into placing of amnesty knife bins in public places. It would probably take me well over 40 minutes to go through all of this, so I'll just go through the bullet points. That's because you guys got lots.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
absolutely.
So exposure causing injury to staff should they're handling the bins, that will be negated for your staff completely because it'll be done by ourselves. We have had PCSOs cut themselves, but what can you do for that? So they're given, so the staff will be doing it, we're given training on things like Operation Felix, so which aligns to if there's any suspicious circumstances or items that are put in there which may lead to chemicals, corrosives of a bomb, then obviously that would fall under the Felix guidelines that we would be trained on to do. The main stipulations of the night amnesty bins are is that yes, they can be put anywhere, but what the force prefer is that they're put away from main entrance doors, so that stops any members of staff feeling uneasy, where if they're actually, I could be leaving from work or coming to work, and someone could be walking up with a knife. How would that make staff feel? So Frank Moran said that they put it right by the door, but they were happy to do that. Whereas Westcroft, like, we don't want it anywhere near any entrances or fire exits, because if you have a corrosive item in there, then is that going to render your building completely unusable for that? The 2 trained nominated personnel, which will be Thames Valley Police. If the bin requires emptying at interim points, Thames Valley Police will be nominated to do that if you have the qualifications in first aid. All knife bins will be emptied according to our guidance. When they're removed from the front counter into the public, it will be for the police responsibility to empty them.
And I'm not getting, sorry to interrupt, be happy, Chair. Happy for me to speak.
Yeah.
Just to say that from the staff point of view, you've already said that we have no responsibility really for the bin, but what we would do is keep an eye on it. And if it looks like it's getting full, obviously, or there were any concerns, we contacting TVP. But otherwise, and I've talked to the staff team about having the knife bin, the amnesty bin, and I think everybody in the team seemed very content with it.
That's good to hear. Right.
So the other high risk ones I'll go through then, thank you for that, Delia, is members of the public misunderstanding the initiative and handing in firearms. So the risk of that's high, but it's mitigated to medium because of the policies we have in place. And when we had that with the taser, which is classed as a Section 5 firearm, then the standard make safe principles were put in place for the firearms teams to come down, make it safe, and it's transported away by police. So they've mitigated the high risk for that. That could happen. It has happened with the taser, but thankfully it's not a daily occurrence. Yes. So the other ones that were concerns, which then go into sort of community cohesion, really is, I mean, they go into quite a lot of detail, like people walking into the bin. This thing is bright orange. It's quite, so we haven't had anyone walk into it. So that's committed law. And the other one is persons arrested with knife claims to be on the way to deposit the knife bin. So that seems to be Thames Valley Police's main concern, is that, oh, we're trying to combat serious violence and knife crime reduction, which we have done. But that said, are we going to start giving people automatic defences? And they've got the bins are bright orange in colour and easy to see. They'll be placed away from corners and entrance exits to buildings. Bins will clearly labelled amnesty knife bin. Bins will be regularly checked to ensure no sharp edges or damage is occurred by knife bin stock or nominated staff, and all damage to be reported to nominated person. And then they've given this caveat that although we can't force or tell members this is what they need to do, but if they were to have knives in cardboard taped up, then actually they're stopped by the police in the close proximity of a knife amnesty bin. Under those circumstances, you're very unlikely to be arrested or prosecuted, and quite rightly so. And we haven't had, touch wood, it will happen, we haven't had anyone arrested in possession of a knife say, I was on my way to an amnesty bin, because there's normally another story with that person being in possession of a knife. Either they've made off in place or been involved in a serious incident. So we're thankfully getting good members of the public come in. It has been feedback from a community perspective, as we have had mum say that they found weapons in son's bedroom and they've taken and got rid of it. Not saying who the son is, but they've taken that knife off the street, and it is helping. The ideal situation, if you're happy with it, is Sector starts next month. And from a corporate comms perspective, Thames Valley Police would love that, to be able to say, oh, we've got a new amnesty bin out in Stratford, Bletchley.
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Go on then, yeah.
Have we got a specific location on our site at the moment?
On Sycamore Hall? No, we've not assessed that yet. That could take 5-10 minutes for us to look at and agree upon. We'll be completely led by members of staff there.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that with the potential refurbishment and getting in the way of building works and
I think if we locate it in the area of the barn.
Just one question. In terms of insurance, I know that corrosive materials are probably unlikely, but should they cause damage to the building?
Yeah.
It's covered under TVP insurance or not?
They have a public liability with us, definitely, and that is within here, because you might have that, for example, you could have some sort of leakage.
Yeah.
And then it could render, even for example, if we're getting to the stage where if there was something like an explosive that was placed into the bin, then we have to automatically do our radius principles, which means we need to vacate. If the police tell you to vacate your property or your business, then any subsequent cost would be the chief police would be liable for that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Yeah, I've only got one question now, Sam. How long will it be in place?
Forever.
Really?
Yeah, forever, until deemed such a time that you think, well, actually, these are no longer viable, or we don't want. You could come to us, hopefully not in 6 months, and say, do you know, and actually, it could be a case that this doesn't work. Actually, there's been a couple of incidents which made our staff feel unsafe. That's the last thing we want, people going back and forth work just because we want to take weapons off the street. But if you say this doesn't work, you don't like it, actually it could be moved. Again, that's not a problem. Or you might think this is really, really good. Can we try and get another one for somewhere else in Bletchley? Because with the reserve funding, all of our community amnesty bins have been paid for by reserve funding. So we've got another one that's going out in the same time in Netherfield. So actually, you've got to balance up, like, you don't have so many around that everyone can be all one there. But the good thing is, like, there's a record sheet of what we keep and what we seize, and number it, and actually it could be, if it's there and actually we'll get no bin surrender, no knife surrendered, then I think we'll actually probably need to rethink what's going to be. But the good thing about Sycamore Hall specifically, when you look at the other places, as it's within close proximity of a car park. So someone put weapons in the boot of a car that's cardboarded up and taped up, that's really reasonable, isn't it? Taking beyond, actions beyond to make sure that they're doing the right thing.
Yeah. Right, well, that's me finished. Anyone else got any questions? Right, so do we agree?
Sorry.
Go on.
What? CCTV cameras,
Yes.
are the bins across the parish or across Milton Keynes covered by cameras? Do you actually?
No, they're not. So they don't like it actually, policy wise, they don't like it because they say it defeats the purpose. There's one in Aylesbury that we put it in a church, and I used to think, well, that's a bit what I would have to get someone, you know, coming in like when my friend got all the persons in there. So the reason they don't like the CCTV is because actually it puts people off, and that's proven with Central Milton Keynes. So the first amnesty bin we had was put into the front office at the police station, and yes, people come in, but people are more reluctant because they think, well, actually, it's a trap, quite rightly, and you're coming in, the first thing you see is a camera. So we're the Westcroft one and the West Bletchley one really, really productive.
The one at CMK, police, they've been there for years, isn't it?
Yeah, been there for a long time.
I remember seeing that some years ago.
Yeah, and overall, the one at Westcroft has produced more knife seizures than the one at CMK, and we've had that there
Oh,
for
right.
since 2022.
All right, so thank you very much for that. Any other comment? If not, then we can take a vote. Do we agree the location? To be agreed between TVP and staff?
Yeah.
Yep, so that we delegate that authority.
Excellent, thank you very much for that. And I'll leave you, I'll see you Thursday, some of you, I think.
That's right.
It's back here Thursday. See you Thursday.
I don't know yet. I might know.
No hard time, all right?
I feel like I know something.
No parking.
Thanks very much for that.
See you later.
Yeah, well, just see how she is, first, and
Right, okay, gents. Item 5, that's 5. We're on 6 now. Planning applications. 6.1, Warburton Church Centre. Proposed redevelopment including new pitch, roof, etc. Any comments? No comment, thank you. 6.2, 156 Queensway, change of use from charity shop to restaurant.
that's the old cancer shop.
Oh, is that the one? Thank you, Ron. Any comment?
No.
Agreed, right, no comment. 6.3, 8 Walnut Drive, removal of existing conservatory, etc. Any comment? No comment. Item 6.4, 38 Osborne Street, proposed single-storey side extension. Any comment? No, thank you. 6.5, 11 Westfield Road, 2-storey rear extension, car park alterations. Any comment? Thank you. And 6.6, 11 Grand Union Canal, consultation on scoping option for nationally significant infrastructure. Any comment? No? Thank you. Item 7, to approve a response to the public consultation on the revised West Bletchley neighbourhood plan. Anyone want to speak on this?
I'm happy to speak on it.
If you would do.
Yes, I mean, I have read, I think I said in the note that I've read through this. And I do not think that there are various things that are strengthened in the neighbourhood plan, but I don't think, because it's just a refresh and it's an updating, I don't think that the direction of travel with this plan is any different from the old plan, which we supported as a council. So there was nothing in there that caused me any concerns as your clerk, but obviously that's just my personal opinion. But I think the thing that struck me most of all was that it was definitely well worth our neighbourhood plan steering group making a good study of it in terms of complementing the policies that were in there. For example, the policies around the station area and that kind of thing, where we've definitely got an overlap. But that's what we looked at last time when this plan was first adopted. So I don't think there's anything to be worried about.
I'm always reluctant to pass comment on a neighbouring parish council's approved plan. They've approved it, it's their area, and they should know, I presume do know better for their own area. So we would pass no comment and we would agree. Well, approve? Support. Okay. Support their revised neighbourhood plan. Those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. And number 8, finance report. Now I'm going to pass this over to Alison.
Thank you, Chair. So obviously we have finished the year end. Our internal audit is just carrying out the final review, but we have the figures. The AGAR will be submitted to full council next month. But in terms of the overall end, we had a £218,000 underspend against budget for that financial year. Now I have, as part of the pack, there is an analysis of the variances attributing to that £218,000 underspend. Obviously, I've mentioned quite a lot of them before. I run through the main areas. We had additional interest received in some of about 43,000 due to the fact that the building project did not go ahead and we had higher cash balances than anticipated. Tying with that, obviously, because we've still not started the project, we didn't incur the loan repayment of nearly £44,000. So that's nearly 100,000. We had some staffing vacancies equating to 38,000 underspend, and we actually had some additional income that wasn't anticipated in the original budget, including rental higher income at Newton Leys Pavilion. Obviously, we took on the local MP's office hires, meeting rooms in the building. That was not anticipated, so that is quite a generous source of additional income. And we obviously have started doing additional landscaping contracts, which weren't in the original budget. So there's quite a few areas where there were substantial differences to the budget.
Right. Any comments from anyone? Rocky, it's a very healthy position to be in, and I think the underspends that have occurred are completely understandable. They are substantial amount of it is due to the delay in the start of the refurbishment of Sycamore Hall.
Can't be helped.
It cannot be helped. Well, in fact, as of this morning, Delia, I believe, still not approved. They're low.
No, we're still waiting to hear.
Yeah, been going on since November, I'm told. We still haven't got approved. So thank you very much for that, whoever's in charge of that little fiasco. But it does leave us with a surplus of £218,000 plus. And that's a question of where that money is allocated.
I think, Chair, that's actually dealt with in the next item when we look at the balance sheet and the reserves.
Far better, right?
Yeah.
So do we note this report?
Yes.
Righto, thank you. Yeah, approved. So 8.2, to review the balance sheet, noting the balance of the town council general expenditure, general and earmark reserves. So this is 8.2, page 27 on your agenda.
Yes, Chair. Can I just take you through?
Please do, yeah.
Obviously, I don't generally make a note of talk about the balance sheet, but as it's year end and obviously we have this £218,000 underspend, we have to consider what we're going to, whether we keep that within general reserves or whether we move an amount of that reserve into perhaps rolling capital programme. And I would think my suggestion would be, as a lot of that that underspend is in relation to the building project, and I think we still have to get additional costings done, which will, I doubt they'll reduce, they'll probably increase. So I think it might be prudent to, yeah, transfer an amount into the rolling capital programme from that £218,000 underspend.
Right, well, the suggestion I'm going to propose to you is that we recommend to full council that we transfer £150,000 into the capital rolling programme, and the residual amount is transferred into general reserves.
Yeah, yeah, just stays in general reserves.
Yeah. And now, as I see it, we would use, when we start spending the money on the project, the Morphle project, that we would draw down our loan first, and then you start to use our rolling capital programme, thereby any money unspent from that, if should there be any, we will then use for the fitting out process. And that would, I think the best way of dealing with it. Now, if you agree, we'll make a recommendation to full council. Do I have a seconder?
A second.
Thank you, Richard. Anyone want to make a comment? Those in favour? Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you very much for that. 8.3, note cash and investment reconciliation, page 33. Over to you.
I've got no comments to make. Really.
Right. Noted. To review the note. 8.4, we ratify list of payments to be made to the 30th of April. Page 61 onwards. To ratify, to agree?
Yeah.
Agree, thank you very much. 8.5, to note the receipt of funds from Mill Residents Association. Well, the note is here, and therefore you can see why the money, £1,691.95, is transferred to us as the balance of their funds.
Yes, the association had been disbanded, so, and they wanted to ensure that the money was spent on something within that community. So we're holding it in an earmarked reserve specifically if there becomes available a project that you think would be suitable.
I think it's right that money, we should try and earmark it for money to be spent in that rural area of Mill Residents Association. Do you all agree to that? Agree? Yeah, thank you very much. That's noted and agreed. 8.6, the ratify schedule of accounts to be paid by direct debit during the financial year 25-26.
It's it's to ratify, because obviously there has been some introduced over the course of the year, but I have informed the committee on an annual basis any additional direct debits. It's like I've got several Peninsula, one of our HR provision that is paid by direct debit now. So.
Okay, so we ratify. Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you. 8.7. It's to note the increase of the basic allowance for parish councils, town councils agreed in January, 22nd January 2025.
Yeah, do we turn?
Yes, please.
Yes, obviously we follow the lead on what Milton Keynes Council pay their councillors. It's basically 10% of the city councillors' rate that is allowable for parish councillors. So it just follows on, and they're the increases that have been uplifted. But however, we've got no elected councillors at the minute drawing on the allowance.
Please, I'm missing out. To note, no councillors are claiming it, so no elected councillors are claiming it.
Well, co-operative councillors not eligible.
That's right, they're not. No. So no one's claiming it. Well done, councillors. Thank you very much. 8, to note the decision of the Community and Engagement Committee to extend the existing Christmas light contract with Gala Lights for Christmas 2025. Total cost for the coming year, 25,200. And the procurement of exercise is not needed, as this is 1 year extension. Now, do we note? Yeah, okay, thank you. We're to agree. That's a good one. Item 9, to review the asset register. Well, actually, not a good one, is it? I think it's one of the sheets of it, based on, but page 69, asset register.
Chair, shall we just briefly say,
Yes,
you know,
please.
obviously there's separate reports for any acquisitions we've made during the year, and obviously for any disposals that we've made during the year, which obviously we sought committee approval before disposing them from the asset register. There's marginally very little difference, but obviously I've printed off the whole register. Yeah, there's an awful lot of assets. Potentially there will be a reduction. We are going to do an assessment of some items that are currently within Sycamore Hall, which we need to be
Essentially inherited.
Yeah, essentially inherited, and we need to address that issue. So I'll be asking for committee's approval to dispose of some of those assets, but that will be during this coming year.
My question really is that, do we need it in this sort of detail?
Chair, I was actually, I think last year it was, as councillor did specifically request that they wanted to see the whole listing.
Yeah. I mean, are we really concerned with something that costs a value of £1?
Well, that would be an inherited asset, so where we don't have the original costs, so.
And some of our significant assets.
Yeah.
Value of
No, I think
That's fine, but I think as an exercise, I think it's an exercise that the staff team needs to go through.
Yeah.
Just in case any point's been raised by a councillor, they've got it to hand.
Yeah, and it's about being transparent, you know.
And I wouldn't
But I would
recommend.
note that as a recommendation.
I'll keep quiet, Chair.
I wouldn't suggest that the full asset register goes to full council at the annual meeting,
No.
because, you know, it's just a really long document and they're not going to have time to look
No.
at it. But in the interest of transparency, council have asked for it in the past.
Yeah.
And as I agree with the finance manager of RFO, that we should be being transparent and it should be there.
It's within,
Go on, Alex.
it's on, you know, it's now on our website. Any member of the public can now see how many assets we have.
I think I lost that one then. Right, okay, so we have reviewed it, yes, and noted. Thank you. To receive a premises report and consider any recommendations thereon for expenditure on maintenance, page 89.
Can I just draw attention to the fact that there are aspects of this report that are confidential, in that they include quotations. So by all means discuss the report, but if you could avoid specific reference to contractors and their quotes.
I was a bit concerned that we've had, I think this is the one, where we've had one quote in, we're expecting 2 other quotes, and yet we've disclosed the quote we've received.
Only to this
committee.
only to this committee. It wasn't a tender, it wasn't a bidding process, it was just quotations. And it's only been disclosed to this committee, not to anybody else. It's a restricted document, so it's not in the public domain.
So the report that is included in is on page 89, agenda item 10, is not in public documents.
No, it's restricted. That's the point. That was the point I was just making, that yes, it's restricted, but we thought you'd be able to discuss it in the public domain. The only thing that's restricted are the amounts and the contractors.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, any comments from anyone? We have recommendations from officers. The water pressure in the Albert Street toilets. There's a recommendation there. Is that agreed? Yeah?
Yep.
Is that everyone, okay, Craig and? Yeah.
We've done a refurb of our Albert Street toilets, we've done a refurb and
Yeah,
it's looking good in there, it's just that we've struggled with water pressure for some time now, so we need to bring it up to scratch, we've been up to scratch.
Ron?
Yeah, the water pressure's in there, it's up and down like a fiddler's elbow. 1 minute you press it, nothing, next minute you get a load out.
Yeah. So we approve that. Thank you.
Yeah, so we can, just to be clarified, we can actually disclose because who we're going to choose and the, so we are going to go with plumbing and gas solutions to fit the Bletchley cylinder heater.
Yep.
Yeah. Cost of 1864.
Well, yeah, £1,864.
Yeah.
Yep. The Last Grove water leak. Delegate, to officers on receipt of 3 quotes to accept the lowest or the best quality quote. Yes?
Agreed.
Yeah, thank you. And the last one, recommendation removal of gas meter at Sycamore Hall. The energy assets at the cost disclosed there, is that agreed?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Just to add, Chair, I'd like to say that it's the company, it was their recommendation, it's SEFE is our energy supplier there, and they recommended energy assets to complete this work.
Oh, okay, that's even better.
Yeah.
Right. So approve, agreed? Thank you. Item 11, page 113, to approve the renewal of the subscription to Modern Gov. Page 113.
I can speak to that one if you would like me to.
Yes, please.
As you know, we've been using Modern Gov since 2019, I think. And we find it, as officers, we find it very satisfactory. We've looked at alternatives as we've been going along, and we haven't found anything that we think is better, though we have seen things which are cheaper. However, this contract has come due for renewal, and to be frank, we don't have the current staff team to choose an alternative and implement it just at the moment. It just isn't the right time to do that because we just don't have the resources to do it. So we've asked for a quotation for a 2-year renewal, which might then give us time to revisit whether we want to look at an alternative system. At the same time, Modern Gov are moving away from the issue manager system which they use at the moment and onto a hub-based system which will be much more easy for us to access in the future, because we won't have to go into a separate server area. We'll be able to access via the internet browser. Well, I'm satisfied with the security from that point of view, but that cloud-based solution we think will be better. And in fact, Modern Gov will be withdrawing the alternative, over the next few years in any event. Indeed, in fact, we had a demonstration recently and they said they thought they'd be withdrawing it in about 18 months' time. So if we want to continue using Modern Gov, I don't really feel we've got much alternative but to go to the cloud-based hub.
So
hang on, mate. I just want to that those people that know about software and can they have a good go at this? Because there's lots of us that don't know what we're talking about in regard to this.
So basically, future-proofing. The future-proofing the cloud-based stuff.
Yes.
Actually modern gloves going out of existence, we need to move on to the next.
The issue manager application that we've been using, yes, is going to be phased out, and the cloud-based hub has quite a lot of alterations into it for the back end, not for you as users. It will stay the same for you predominantly.
The only thing with cloud-based, you have to buy storage, isn't it? Is that something that will come with big, massive storage, because we're going to have quite a lot of important documents that's going to be on the server? So,
Well, it'll be on the
it'll
cloud.
be in the cloud, but the cloud is not endless. I mean, we have to pay for the cloud, don't we?
Well, it's included in this subscription.
That is whether the subscription is large enough for our documents. That's what I'm asking.
Well,
I'm just trying to say, what the subscription is that going to be enough for our
we believe
Town
so,
council.
yes.
Well, modern government's been handling our affairs for some time. They know what we're putting in there, don't they? I presume.
They do, they absolutely do. Certainly they do.
I think it's definitely the way that everyone is moving, and I think as long as we can satisfy the security requirements, a cloud-based solution is the right.
We moved the cloud with Realtis, with our finance systems, and it's been much better.
Right. I do take your word for it, believe you me. But no, that advice is much appreciated, not only just staff, but from members as well. So do we approve? Do we approve the subscription model that was done? Those in favour? Yes, that's unanimous. Thank you. Item 12. To receive a clerk's report on data management within the council and to consider a proposal for acquisition of customer relationship management software. Wow. Right.
That's enough.
Clark.
That's enough.
Well, I think the easiest thing might be if you ask me questions. I mean, I've written the report, and I've a number of recommendations there. And I think, I think the report speaks for itself. I'm happy to answer questions.
Right.
You must be logged in, not on restricted, because the report is restricted, actually.
I can't see it.
Well,
Right. Well, we've got recommendations on
if
the.
you want me to just summarise it, I'm happy to do that for the benefit of those who can't see.
You haven't got it. Have you got it, Raymond?
It's on the system. The only reason you won't be able to see it, I think, is because you've not signed in for the restricted papers.
Yeah, I've got it.
So you've signed in for, this is something that seems to happen quite a lot.
Yeah.
We need to just make sure that you're signing in correctly so that you get the restricted papers.
Would that be part of the problem with ISQs?
No, that was a different problem, I understand.
Oh, right, okay. Right, well, yes.
So I will say, and that being the case, I will go through it.
Thank
So, basically, the town council's now been in existence since 2001, and we've accumulated an awful lot of records. And a lot of it, was paper-based, but we've been gradually moving to everything being more digitised, and we've made some very good progress, I think. We only, in order to comply with data protection legislation, we really only need to keep what we need to keep. But you'll see later on the agenda, we've got a review of our document retention policy. There are a lot of things that we do have to keep for a long time. And if we think of some of our experiences over the last few years, where we've not had good record keeping from the past, I'm thinking particularly of the dinosaur, where there was no recorded decision in any of the minutes that I could find about the dinosaur. It's really, really important. You don't want to be left in that position of ignorance where you haven't got clarity about what's happened and why. So we've been gradually working towards improving the record keeping, but we've now got a bit of a legacy problem in a way, in that our system, our online record keeping, our digital record keeping is in need of, the right word to use is, I don't know what word I've used in the report. It needs reviewing. And my concerns are that it is difficult to search for individual subject details. The only way that we can search, if someone asks to be forgotten, for example, which is one of the rights that exist under the data protection, if someone asks to be forgotten, which means we have to delete all our records about them, except there are exceptions to everything, but it's actually quite hard for us to search for it. We've got to do the only way we can do it is with a data mining exercise from our IT providers. Now, it might be that we'd always want to do that anyway, but I'd like to think that if we've got, say, somebody who's only contact with us has been with the allotments or something, we'd be able to find it ourselves. And at the moment, searching is really difficult. We don't even have, so the filing system is usable, but only once you've learned it. So somebody who comes in from the outside would not be able to step in. And this is one reason why we don't use temporary staff very often, because somebody who came in, it would take so much time to teach them where to look for the records that they wouldn't be much use to it as a temp, really. Because it's disorganised and inconsistent, we don't have a standardised filing naming convention, and we have we've got spreadsheets in various different parts of the system with resident contacts in them, and in an ideal world, in order to provide the best kind of customer service, we'd have a centralised system where if a resident rang up, anybody in the team could take that call and they could look at the record of the contact between that resident and the council. And at the moment we can't do that. So we're passing calls around the houses and we're not able to see the history very easily because histories are in lots of different places. So that's one concern, that it affects our efficiency, it affects our ability to comply with data protection. We don't have a data protection officer, which was a decision that the town council made when it became legal for us not to have one. So we've always decided not to have one. And although it's not legally required, I've had very mixed advice from different authorities on whether or not we should have one. We certainly don't have anybody inside the council who's got the qualifications that a recognised data protection officer would have. So I think, you know, we've got to look at whether we can tap into an external resource that we can draw on as and when we need to. And perhaps what would be a good thing to do at the moment would be to have a data protection expert look at what we're doing and what we've got. And I hesitate to suggest inviting such a person in to look at our records, because I know it will generate quite a lot of work, but we should be managing our data in compliance with the legislation and good practice. So the recommendations that I've put forward, I'll just read those out, were to procure an on-call external data protection officer service in order to help us with our data compliance, to consider a short-term consultancy or a fixed-term internal project to restructure the filing system and develop standard operating procedures and improve our workflow tools that we're using. We make a lot of use of Planner, but that's perhaps the only thing that we do make use of, and it's not suitable for everything. And to look at task tracking and customer relationship management. We need to develop some templates for common inquiries and implement a standard filing name policy. We need to digitise the remaining archives, because we really don't want to keep anything on paper that we don't have to keep on paper, but there's still a piece of work to do there. So there's quite a lot of work to do there. I mean, it's at least a 6-month project, if not longer. So I don't think the staff team can do it on their own as we are at the moment. So we either need input from members who've got expertise in this area, or we need to draw in some external support to take us through this process.
Right, well, I think one of the things would be quite clear from this is that it's the flexibility to the approach that we need as well. And there are some ors in here, and I think we should leave those in. Not for us to decide, but to agree that they are ors, and therefore where you have an option for one or the other, that option is left to discretion of the clerk and the manager responsible for the particular stream of work. Craig.
Yeah, as someone with experience with dealing with lots of data, I don't think we should underestimate the importance of having well-structured data, not just for compliance reasons, but to enable us to be a little bit more agile and work better with temporary staff, etc. 6 months, I think, would be a minimum, I would say, and I would urge us all to err on the side of caution that it takes a very long time to structure data in the correct way to make you kind of enable it in the right way. So yeah, we should probably seek to have a slightly longer timeline on that, from my experience.
I'm pretty sure you're right. I'm always hopelessly optimistic.
It would be fantastic, but I imagine we've got lots of data. So yeah, to put good naming and labelling and tagging policies, it takes a very long time.
Have you got a timescale to recommend sort of thing, Craig?
I think it's probably nearer 12 months in reality,
Okay.
a 12-month programme.
So you recommend we would change that to 12 months?
I would.
Yeah, okay. I'll second that change.
What about procuring on-call external data protection officer service?
Yeah, I would definitely do that. Very much so.
Right.
Would you come back to finance with the costing for that, or just leave it?
But I think we should leave it as flexible as we possibly can, Richard. I take the point you're trying to make.
Just so that there's not an open checkbook there.
No, but we've got limits on the amount of delegation for the clerk. That's there for a purpose. So that we can get on with these things without keep on coming back to committee. I'm in favour of doing that, and I think we should hopefully carry on doing that. But we've got 6 recommendations. Do you wish to take them all together, all 6?
Yeah, whichever, yeah.
Yeah. Now, with Craig's amendment on from 6 months, we go to 12 months on item recommendation 2, and that where we have an option, I'm trying to find it now. Here we are on item recommendation 2, short-term consultancy or a fixed-term internal project. We leave it as an or, both options on the table for the clerk to determine. Are there any other? There's no other options, no other changes we wish to make, as far as I know. Is that right, Craig?
Yeah, I think the only thing to note is it's circa 12 months. If it comes in shorter, it will be great, but I think we should be prepared that it could take up to 12 months.
If we put it into up to 12 months, yeah, okay. Does that mean, Delia, does that meet satisfied as far as you're concerned?
It does. I think my only concern is that this is not my area of expertise either. I mean, I've done quite a lot of research to get to the point where I'm at, and I know enough to know that it's kind of outside my, I know what I don't know, and I don't know enough. It's what I'm saying.
It's a very specialist subject. I'm happy to assist, but I definitely think we should consider an amount of short-term consultancy to help guide us in the right direction. Because what we put in now will forever use for years to come. So we have one opportunity to do this right.
I suppose what we don't want is for someone to bamboozle us with science.
Yeah.
And we don't know whether they're You
Yeah.
know, we need someone to tell us, yes, this is the right course of action, that's the right course of action.
Yeah.
And stuff.
And I'm more than happy to be involved in those
Thank
reviews.
you, Greg. That'd be really helpful.
I was going to suggest that.
So that would make it easier then if someone asked for the Freedom of Information Act, wouldn't they? If you can go over there,
Yeah, the
otherwise,
ability to search
Yeah.
definitely makes it easier.
easier, yeah.
And also, there are benefits to the council because you can then, if you develop your databases in a more organised way, you can record more useful information that then you can be analysed going forward, which is a help to the council.
It is, and when you think about customer relationship, we get contacted by a member of the public, we can quickly see how many times they've contacted us about what subjects,
Yeah.
so we can start to give personalised responses and approaches.
Right, thank you, Craig. Right, so taking all six recommendations, do we approve the actions recommended in all six?
Yeah.
Those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you for that, Craig. You've guided us through that. And Delia. Item 13, was to review the following documents for recommendation to full council. Now, I hope we've all read them. And so we are not proposing to read all of them, we'll go through them. I'm just going to go through the each type ahead and for your approval. So that will be 13.1 to review, agreed. 13.2, document retention policy, agreed. 13.3, revised financial recommendations, agreed.
Yeah, there was only one small change in the
Okay,
financial
yeah.
regulations. Yeah, it was just really, it's in terms of procurement, there's new regulations of Procurement Act, 2023, procurement regulations, and these have superseded all kind of previous procurement, so I will be updating the procurement policy to be submitted for approval at a later date, once I've become fully informed of all the peculiarities of it.
Right,
But obviously it'll be taken into account when we procure for the new building
Yeah.
refurbishment, as soon as we get the funding.
thank you very much for that. That is there amendment there, isn't it?
But yeah,
13.4, revised standing orders.
And the standing orders have been amended chiefly to match the revised financial regulations, but there are one or two other minor amendments which you can see, which are just to, I think they're just to correct errors really, or just make things a little bit more specific. There was something that was in our standing orders last time, which has come out of the NALC model, and I'm always keen, I think it's extraneous, it's 7C, which I don't think it's needed, because I think the previous two orders, 7A and B, cover that. So it's you know, the shorter we can make them, the better really. So it's a matter for you whether you approve them or not.
Right. I must admit, on 13th on revised standing orders, I did read some of the bits and I thought, good grief, as chair, I can throw half your lot out because you argue too much. And I thought better of it because you might turn the tables on me. So do we agree revised standing orders?
Yeah.
Agreed? Thank you.
Can I just explain just for information, if I can just add something? And we've talked in the past about putting all our governance documents into a constitution. As a council, we're not as a local council, we're not required to have a constitution, but it is quite helpful to gather everything together in a constitution, and ModGov allows you to add all your governance documents, like standing orders and financial regulations and everything, into one page of the website, which means that then everything's all together in one place. And also when you come to your annual meeting, it can be quicker to get through everything, because you can revisit the constitution and make a list saying the constitution includes all these documents. Do you approve the constitution, instead of having to go through it as we do at the moment, one by one, financial regs, standing orders, we have to go through everything. So we talked about doing this in the past, and I'm halfway through setting this up. And I'm hoping that you'll think it's a good idea to do it that way, because if you don't, I'll stop. I'll stop what I'm doing. But I think it makes sense to put it all together, and it's more transparent because it pulls all the decision-making processes into one place that not only councillors can see, but also residents and other stakeholders.
Councillors see it, quite honestly.
Well, yeah.
Chances of us knowing it all are pretty remote, and you've got to refresh your memory.
So I'm carrying on with that then.
Yes, thank you very much,
Okay.
yes. Nice to know. Right, so item 14, to consider exclusion of the public and press for discussion of the following property matters. And both these items concern property and may include discussion of legal and commercial negotiations with landowners, which it may not be in the public interest to disclose at this stage. So are we consider it? Do we do that? Include the public and press? Those in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you. Those in favour? Right, that's unanimous. Right, so we can